the nation's commercial capital. This is the News at 10. Live from the channel's television. Reporting tonight, Ayotunde Balogun.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, Senate confirms 7 ministerial nominees presented by President Bola Tinubu last week for accelerated consideration. Court stops Central Bank of Nigeria from releasing allocation funds to the River State government, just as Governor Simonalai Fubara says he's unperturbed by the ruling. And Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria inaugurates Dr. John Momo, Dr. Ahmed Ramalan, and 4 others as members of its Board of Trustees at its first annual general meeting.
On business news tonight, Transmission Company of Nigeria announces partial restoration of power to 7 states in the northern region of the country affected by the vandalization of the Shiroro-Kaduna transmission line.
And from the nation's capital, President Bola Tinubu appoints Major General Olufemi Oluyede as Acting Chief of Army Staff, pending the return of Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who is currently indisposed. On sports, world number 5, Daniel Medvedev is yet to win an ATP title in 2024. A stunning loss to Alexei Popyrin at the Paris Masters prolongs the wait for the Russian.
And in international news from London, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says we won't abandon you in an address to the nation after flash flooding killed at least 62 people in the country's southeast.
We start off from the House of Representatives, and the lower chamber has a motion urging the president to rescind the decision to scrap the Niger Delta Ministry has stepped down at the Green Chamber. Well, of course, the motion, sponsored by Honorable Oboko Ofoji from Bayelsa State, drew the attention of lawmakers to the purpose for the setting up of the Niger Delta Ministry. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Komi, has details of these and more from the House.
Wednesday's plenary session in the House of Representatives commences with a defection of Honorable Suleiman Gumi from Zamfara State from the PDP to the APC, citing internal crisis and division within the PDP.
Point of order. The biggest and greatest party in Africa. Congratulations.
Matters of urgent national importance are then received, one of which calls for precautionary measures to mitigate predicted flood risks in 22 states and the FCT.
The House resolves to 1. Summon the Federal Ministry of Environment, the National Emergency Management Agency, and the Hydrological Services Agency to explain what precautionary measures are being implemented to safeguard lives and properties in the predicted flood zones.
The resolutions are adopted, and the House turns its attention to a motion against the recent scrapping of the Niger Delta Ministry by President Bola Tinubu.
The region is disturbed that on the 23rd of October 2024, the oil-rich region witnessed a palpable tension following the announcement of the scrapping of the Ministry of Niger Delta Development by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This is not a good omen for a region that has contributed immensely to the economic development of our country and has enjoyed some relative peace. The House resolved urged the federal government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to urgently rescind the scrapping of the Ministry of the Niger Delta.
Considering the sensitivity of the motion, the Speaker directs the lawmaker to confer with the minority leader. The motion is stepped down after the Speaker informs the House of his meeting with the President for the establishment of a South-South Development Commission.
He told me clearly that he is favorably disposed to receiving any proposal concerning the establishment of South-South Development Commission. So I think in light of this explanation, I would want to call on the sponsor of this motion to please allow us to step down this motion.
In the meantime, a constitution amendment bill for the creation of a new federal constituency in Nasarawa State scales second reading.
A bill for an act to alter the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, to carve out Nasarawa Egon Federal Constituency from Akwanga Nasarawa Egon Wamba Federal Constituency and other related matters be read for the second time.
Meanwhile, a bill for an act to prevent, prohibit, and redress sexual harassment of students in tertiary educational institutions has been passed by the House. In the bill, the House is proposing 14 years for sexual harassment in tertiary institutions. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Now to the courts. A Kuje Magistrate Court has granted bail to House of Representatives member for Aba North and South Alex Ikweche in the sum of 500,000 naira and 2 sureties in like sum. In a brief ruling, presiding Judge Abubakar Saeed says the sureties must reside within the court's jurisdiction and provide utility bills as proof of evidence. The charges brought against the lawmaker include abuse of office, assault, and threat to life. He pleaded not guilty when the charges were read to him. Now, his counsel thereafter made an oral application for bail, which was granted by the court. The case has been adjourned till November the 8th, 2024. Honorable Alex Ikweche was arraigned for allegedly assaulting an e-hailing cab driver, Mr. Stephen Abuatsea, in Abuja. Staying with the courts, Justice Joyce Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court Abuja has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, not to release any other monthly allocations to the Rivers State government. Justice Abdulmalik held that the receipt and disbursement of monthly allocations since January this year by the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, was a breach of the Constitution, an aberration that must not be allowed to continue. The judge held that the presentation of the 2024 budget by Governor Fubara before a 4-member Rivers House of Assembly was an affront to the constitutional provision.
The issues are very clear. Let us explain in very clear terms. The section 120, 121, 122, and 123 of the Constitution clearly stipulated what should be done before the state can spend money, state expenditure. And it's clear there that no money shall be appropriated without an appropriated bill being passed by the House of Assembly. It's very clear from the judgment of Motosho, which was confirmed by the Court of Appeal, that the budget was not properly passed. And in a situation like that, if it's not passed within 6 months, a state is not supposed to collect revenue from a consolidated fund. That is the issue of lawyers. That is the extant provision of the law. And that's what the court has confirmed today, that the Rivers State government has not complied with the requirement of the Constitution on appropriation of bills for expenditures and all the things that they need to do in the state government. It's a very clear judgment. And then also looking at all the other judgments that have been passed in respect of the Rivers State government, it's clear from this judgment, which also rely on the judgment of the Court of Appeal, that the state government is in violation of the extant provisions of the Constitution relating to expenditure and passing of the bill for expenditure. So it's clearly they cannot continue to allow this infraction to continue.
Meanwhile, River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara says concerns over the Federal High Court decision that restricted the release of state allocations is the least of his problems. Governor Fubara stated this during a special Thanksgiving service organized by the state government to celebrate his administration's resilience amid escalating political crisis, which began with the arson attack on the State House of Assembly complex exactly 1 year ago. Governor Fubara assured residents that despite the court order, his administration will continue payments to contractors and ensure workers' salaries are disbursed from tomorrow. That's October 31st.
We have journeyed so far. We have taken the most difficult part of this struggle. There is nothing that is happening now that is not surmountable. I want you to know that. So you need to brace up and be strong. Nothing has happened. We're still complete. We're still intact. Let me tell you, they said we're not going to last for 1 week. We're here. We have done 1 year plus. We're also doing 1 year anniversary of the attempt. Today, we have the local government chairman sitting with us. commissioner should resign immediately so that we'll be crippled. Today we have more than 23 commissioners. They said they are not going to do anything. We want to frustrate them in a program in UST. They said we're going to make them, they don't succeed. By the special grace of God, we have embarked on projects that are touching the life of women's power. So you don't need to bother about the stories that are in social media. That one is the least of your trouble. By tomorrow, I'm still going to pay my contractors. By tomorrow, those of you that have not gotten your salary, whatever their salary, your alert will also get to you. I ask you again, who is the loser? Who is the loser? We are not doing lecture here to celebrate loss, failure. We are praising God because He's taking us to a higher position.
And more from the courts. Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has adjourned hearing in the alleged money laundering case brought against the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to January the 21st, 2025. At the resumed hearing, counsel to the EFCC, Kemi Pinero, told the court that he had 2 witnesses already in court. Our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports that he predicated his application on Section 276 of the Administration of Criminal Justice.
The Federal High Court in Abuja resumed the EFCC's case against former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello. The EFCC's counsel requested that Bello be tried in absentia, arguing that his absence waives his right to be present. Bello's lawyer, Mr. Michael Adohi, opposed this, citing a prior court order that requires Bello's physical arraignment before any application. Mr. Adohi also argued that criminal trial differs from civil proceedings and required the defendant's presence, which the EFCC's application does not accommodate. Justice Emeka Nwite subsequently adjourned the case to January 21, 2025 for ruling on the EFCC's application. The judge also dismissed Bello's request to halt proceedings, affirming his earlier order for him to appear in court. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
A former secretary to the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Mr. John Oga, continued his testimony on Wednesday before a Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja, where he disclosed that his former boss, Godwin Emefiele, listed his niece as one of the beneficiaries of funds from an account allegedly operated on his behalf. Mr. Oga, who is testifying as the 6th prosecution witness, made the disclosure while answering questions from the counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Rotimi Oyedepo. Oga told the court that he is aware that the former CBN governor once instructed the 5th prosecution witness, an account officer with Zenith Bank, Ifeoma Ogbonaya, to send funds into the account of his niece named Anna. Mr. Emefiele's counsel, Mr. Olalekan Ojo, a senior advocate of Nigeria, raised objections to this line of questions and queried the relevance of the testimony, as Anna's name was not mentioned anywhere in the charge. He insisted that it was an attempt to introduce sensationalism into the matter. Well, the EFCC counsel, however, countered the objection and maintained that it was connected to the fact in issue an abuse of office charge and of conferring corrupt advantage on Mr. Emefiele's associates and immediate family members, including his wife, Margaret. Justice Romano Shodi has adjourned the case till November the 28th for continuation of trial. In part 2, after the break, Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria inaugurates Dr. John Momo, Dr. Ahmed Ramalan, and 4 others as members of its Board of Trustees at its first annual general meeting. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Senate confirms 7 ministerial nominees presented by President Bola Tinubu last week for accelerated consideration. Court stops CBN from releasing allocation funds to the River State government just as Governor Siminalayi Fubara says he's unperturbed by the ruling. Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria inaugurates Dr. John Momo, Dr. Ahmed Ramalan, and 4 others as members of its Board of Trustees at its first annual general meeting. And more than 3 million people have already voted in the U.S. swing state of Georgia, smashing records ahead of the November 5th elections. The Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria, IBAN, is appealing to the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, to collaborate and come up with more supportive broadcasting codes to encourage the practice in the country. Conversations around Nigeria's failing digital switchover and solutions to the negative perception formed part of the deliberations at the inaugural annual general meeting of the Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria in Lagos. Our correspondent, Darido, reports.
In brotherhood we stand. Since its formation, the Independent Broadcasting Association of Nigeria is holding its first annual general meeting at the corporate headquarters of Channels Television in Lagos.
For disseminating information.
Some members are here physically, while others have joined virtually.
Yeah, welcome, sir.
I will faithfully.
The first agenda of the day is the inauguration of the members of the Board of Trustees. Chairman, CEO of Channels Television, Dr. John Momo, is the chairman, joined by Dr. Ahmed Ramalan, Remi Olalemi, and Tony Dara as fellow board members.
Nigeria Independent Broadcasting Sector.
So help.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Next is the inauguration of the Executive Council members.
I will execute my duties.
IBAN Chairman Dr. Ahmed Ramalan said the future of Nigeria's media industry relies heavily on stakeholders' ability to collaborate effectively.
IBAN will articulate the potentials of the Nigerian broadcast industry to foster strategic partnership. The new IBAN believes that media industry should use the current difficult situation faced by the broadcast industry as an opportunity to correct our business operational models.
Put your hands together for Dr. John O. Momo.
The chairman of the Board of Trustees and Channels Media Group CEO, Dr. John Momo, touched on the impact of digital disruption, dwindling advertising revenues, and the role regulatory bodies must play to engender industry growth.
Today's viewers have unprecedented choices at their fingertips, and traditional broadcasting models must adapt to keep pace with this shifting landscape. One other crucial area we must address is the NBC Code. This almighty code. Currently, it imposes several restrictions that hinder our ability to operate competitively and flexibly. We call upon the National Broadcasting Commission. We call upon the DG, who is graciously here today, to engage with us and develop a more friendly broadcasting code, one that aligns with international regulatory standards and acknowledges the unique needs of Nigerian broadcasters. A code that is transparent, supportive, and forward-thinking will empower us to innovate, to grow, and to contribute to Nigeria's media landscape.
There are other goodwill messages from regulators and partners of the association.
I will tell you, as we go forward, there's going to be so many engagements with the different bodies. We are going to come to positions of compromise, and we will take the industry forward.
As you gather to explore, innovate, and shape the future of broadcasting in Nigeria, may this conference inspire a bold ideas, strengthen collaborations, and reinforce your mission to uphold the higher standards of journalism and public service.
Please always feel free and let us talk. We are always open for ideas. I've seen your initiative around the credit note. I gave them some input. I think it's a wonderful one. Let's see how we could make it happen. So I said to them, can we also make this
more often. The former Director General of the NBC, Professor Armstrong Idachaba, is the guest speaker. He said there was no transparency in the handling of the digital switchover process, despite billions of naira committed to the project.
From my calculation, I know that so far about 53 billion naira has been committed to the DSO by the government of Nigeria. Now, we can't say there's transparency in how the DSO has been managed so far. You know, sadly, as we speak, 2 of my former bosses are standing trial over DSO money. Yes. They are still standing trial since 2015. And I've been to EFCC, invited severally, and ICPC. This is your DSO. This money, who took them? Who did this? Fortunately, yeah, my signature is not on any of them. IBAN, I think again, it is time to take ownership of the DSO. For me, you are the apparent owners and major investors and stakeholders in this project.
So my pleasure on behalf of IBAN.
IBAN is seeking to strengthen relationships among members, foster collaborations in production and training, drive innovation, facilitate knowledge exchange, and raise broadcasting standards across Nigeria. Dare Ido, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations President Dr. Ike Neliako and his team also visited Channels Television headquarters today, a few days after the launch of its Reputation Management Group. The NIPR team were received by the chairman, CEO of the Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, and some top management staff. The NIPR president, in a chat with Channels Television, says the future of PR in Nigeria will be marked by innovation, adaptability, and a strategic focus on building authentic connections. He also speaks on the Institute's efforts to educate professionals interested in pursuing a career in public relations.
One of the things we tried to do as a council when we got elected was to practice public relations. People say that public relations also needs public relations. So we developed stakeholders. We identified stakeholders. We mapped out stakeholders, and then we began to engage with them. So as we began to engage with them, they now saw that it is in their strategic interest to become members of the Institute. And we showed them the benefits and the value. Nothing beats any argument than value. Once people see what is in it for them in terms of value and benefits, so they began to embrace the Institute. Within 8 months, 2,064 people registered and were inducted as members of the Institute within 8 months. And more have been indicating interest, which means such matters that would have constituted challenges to the Institute are now being resolved through stakeholder engagement.
Let's head now to the nation's capital, and Terry Kumi is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Terry. Over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Ayo. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Major General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede as the acting Chief of Army Staff. A statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, says General Oluyede will act in the position pending the return of the indisposed substantive Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja. Until his appointment, General Oluyede served as the 56th Commander of the Elite Infantry Corps of the Nigerian Army based in Jaji, Kaduna. He was commissioned as second lieutenant in 1992, effective from 1987. He rose to the rank of Major General in September 2020 and is married with 3 children. Now, the Nigeria Governors Forum and the National Council of Traditional Rulers have resolved to take a common position on a constitution amendment bill seeking to properly structure the traditional institution in the country. Governor of Ogun State, Akwa Ibom, briefing journalists after the 2 groups met, said a committee to be chaired by the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, is to compile a report for consideration. They also discussed local government autonomy, community policing, and governance.
that a joint committee of governors and our traditional rulers should be set up. And that committee should seek to ensure that the various remarks and comments that were made from those that are here present should be included to make for a robust document. And memoranda should also be called for and received. And all that should be synthesized so that whatever document will be presented to the National Assembly will be a very comprehensive, a very inclusive document that seeks to empower our Royal Majesties and Royal Highnesses more and seeks to involve them in governance, peace, security of our various states across the country, including the FCT. We spoke about the impact or otherwise of local government autonomy on traditional rulers. The idea was to inform them of what the Supreme Court ruling indeed means, so that they have a better understanding of the impact of that ruling when implementation commences.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's money supply surges by more than 62% year-on-year to over 108 trillion naira in September, in spite of CBN's tightening effort in curbing excess liquidity. That's on Business News, so stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says his administration is committed to actualizing people-oriented projects. He reiterated this during the flag-off of the rehabilitation of Aguma Palace Radio Nigeria New Market Road in Gwagwalada Area Council. Our correspondent Kumbia Boluade reports that the minister believes that the project launch will provide job opportunities for youths.
It's the 8th day, and the Federal Capital Territory Administration is not letting off steam with the project's flag-off. This time, it's the rehabilitation of this access road in Gwagwalada Area Council. The road connects Aguma Palace, Radio Nigeria, and the new market in Gwagwalada. Besides the FCT Minister and the Minister of State, attending this event are former and current government officials, top FCT representatives, traditional rulers, and Gwagwalada residents. The FCT Administration Coordinator of Satellite Towns Development reels out components of the project.
Construction of 10-kilometer length roads, construction of access road, access slabs and culverts, construction of trapezoidal concrete line drains, and lastly, installation of solar street lights.
The FCT Minister in his speech reiterates his commitment to actualizing people-oriented projects.
Since assumption of office, we have been to this Gwagwalada not less than 4 times. Is it not correct? Is it not correct? So, this is what we'll talk about government. Government of the people, government for the people, and government by the people. We are not here just to come and begin to sell land. We are here to give you water. We are here to give you road. We are here to make you happy.
He also urges the contractor to utilize the climate change in order to complete the project in time.
And let me please lead with the contractor. Now we are having dry season, or now we have dry season. Utilize this period to make sure the work is not carried out well. Let me also warn you, there is no provision in our budget for variation. I don't want to hear there's a gully somewhere. We have taken note of all those things before the bill of quality was prepared. So if you go and create gully for yourself, you use your money and do that gully.
This project is expected to be completed in the next 12 months. Kumbi Aboluwade, Channels Television News.
The Akwa Ibom State government's plan to diversify its investments for revenue generation received a significant boost as it commenced the development of an 18-story commercial residential building in one of the upscale neighborhoods of Victoria Island, Lagos. Governor Moeno, alongside Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, performed the groundbreaking today at a ceremony attended by top functionaries from both states.
Amidst cheers from an excited crowd of Akwa Ibom indigents in Lagos, Governor Moeno of Akwa Ibom State and his Lagos State counterpart, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, arrive at the groundbreaking ceremony for Ibom Towers in Victoria Island. A 3D pictorial view of Ibom Towers showcases a high-end commercial residential apartment designed to offer luxury living to prospective occupants.
It's a place where you come, live, work and play. There's so much of luxury packed into the design to deliver comfort even in the skyline.
Among the guests are former governors of Akwa Ibom and Cross River states, first-class traditional rulers, politicians, and investment partners who share their goodwill messages in support of the project's realization.
The value of land here, the value of property here, far exceeds whatever we can develop at home. So it is a wise decision.
Coming to my kingdom, Iru Kingdom, to invest, you have not made any mistake. And I can assure you, the enabling environment will be provided. We will make sure that you enjoy the benefits of your effort.
For Governor Moeno, the Ibom Towers project represents more than just construction. It's an investment in the future of the state's internally generated revenue.
We're building 32 apartment complex here, and I dare say that some of those apartments are already gone. And we intend for this building in the next 24 months to ensure that we finish on time, commission it, and then return the investment and channel it to other projects.
Governor Eno's resourcefulness is commended by the Lagos State Governor, who envisions a renewed partnership for purposeful investment.
We know that the investment that Akwa Ibom is putting here, not only will it improve the IGR that will be coming out from this investment, but it also synergizes the relationship between Lagos and Akwa Ibom.
After the speeches, both governors proceed to perform the turning of the first sod. The 18th-floor Ibom Towers will be fully funded by the Akwa Ibom State government and is expected to rest on this over 2,000 square meter site by the end of 2026.
Well, it's a wrap from the nation's capital. The news continues from Lagos with Ayo.
Thank you so much, Terry. Let's now head to the National Assembly, where the Senate has confirmed the appointment of 7 ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu submitted to the upper chamber last week for accelerated consideration. The confirmation followed the conclusion of a 4-hour screening exercise on the floor of the hallowed chamber. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezioke, reports.
24 hours after the postponement of the screening exercise for 7 ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu, lawmakers converge on the second day of plenary to kickstart the process. It begins with the suspension of the Senate rules to admit the nominees, beginning with Dr. Nentawe Yilwatda, who replaces the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Betta Edu.
I was born to late Reverend Toma Iluwada in a community little village called Dungon.
The nominee receives an effusive validation of his pedigree as he speaks about his strategies.
The first thing you do is you get data, because data is a key in resolving challenges in the 21st century. And this is what we may do as a country or as a ministry if given the opportunity.
The next nominee, who is also a former Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dingyadi, is admitted next. His wealth of experience clearly precedes him.
You serve as a minister and you have been returned again today. So I don't know what new we are going to ask you.
Lawmakers asked that he take a bow and leave. Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, appointed as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, is then admitted into the chamber.
I am a mother of 3.
She elucidates plans for the ministry.
Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs have to prioritize ensuring that missions abroad actually reflect the true magnitude of Nigeria's standing in the Committee of Nations.
Lawmakers from the southeast spared no words in their commendation of her intellectual capacity and even beauty.
She's very intelligent.
Let's now head to business news with Joka Rogers.
Banking so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thank you, Aya. Today, welcome to Business News. The Transmission Company of Nigeria has announced the partial restoration of electricity supply to 7 states located in the northern region of the country, which had been significantly impacted by the vandalization of the Shiroro-Kaduna transmission line, disrupting distribution and causing widespread outages. In a statement released today, the TCN confirmed that electricity was restored to the affected areas just before 5 p.m., following the successful repair of the 330 kV Ugwaji transmission line 1. The states include Nasarawa, Benue, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano, Bauchi, and Gombe. The restoration of electricity in the affected parts follows a 9-day blackout in the entire region, which occurred on October the 22nd. Despite the Monetary Policy Committee's tightening stance aimed at curbing excess liquidity to control inflation, Nigeria's money supply, also known as M3, grew to 108.95 trillion naira in September. According to the latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the M3 increased its marks by 62.8% jump year-on-year, which compared to 66.94 trillion naira recorded same period last year. On a month-over-month basis, the money supply rose by 1.6% from 107.19 trillion naira in August 2024. Midweek trading session at the local stock exchange ended still in the red as investors extend profit-taking for a third consecutive session. Laddie Williams has more.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Well, after the all-share index hit the 97,000 level at intraday, we saw a flip back to the 98,000 level, holding on by 23 points. It was about 50 points yesterday. It was a marginal loss there, about 4 basis points. And the market mover today, MTN Nigeria, share price dipped by about 8 naira to close down 4% today, dragging the market down, even though we saw the banking counter. Look at the sectoral performance now. We see the banking counter has snapped 2 days of losses. With GTCO, the biggest mover among the tier 1 banks, we've got their earnings report today. The 9-month financial report shows the bank's pre-tax profit hit by 1.2 trillion naira in the first 9 months of 2024. Maybe that drove buy action for the stock today. So it's the last trading day of October. Tomorrow, we'll see if we can get another appearance from the bull like we saw last week for the final trade. But today, the bears have it.
Thanks, Laddie. And we close business news with global market figures. That's Business News tonight. Ayatollah, back to you.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial star 894 hash now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Many thanks, Joke. Well, we're going back to the Senate story now, where the upper chamber has confirmed the appointment of 7 ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu submitted to the lawmakers. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Mezoke, tells us more.
24 hours after the postponement of the screening exercise for 7 ministerial nominees of President Bola Tinubu, lawmakers converge on the second day of plenary to kickstart the process. It begins with the suspension of the Senate rules to admit the nominees, beginning with Dr. Nentawe Yilwatda, who replaces the former Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Betta Edu.
I was born to late Reverend Toma Iluwada in a community, little village called Dungun.
The nominee receives an effusive validation of his pedigree as he speaks about his strategies.
The first thing you do is you get data, because data is a key in resolving challenges in the 21st century. And this is what we may do as a country or as a ministry if given the opportunity.
The next nominee, who is also a former Minister of Police Affairs, Mr. Megari Dingyadi, is admitted next. His wealth of experience clearly precedes him.
You serve as a minister and you have been returned again today. So I don't know what new we are going to ask you.
Lawmakers asked that he take a bow and leave. Ambassador Bianca Odumegu Ojukwu, appointed as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, is then admitted into the chamber.
I am a mother of 3.
She elucidates plans for the ministry.
Our Ministry of Foreign Affairs have to prioritize ensuring that missions abroad actually reflect the true magnitude of Nigeria's standing in the Committee of Nations.
Lawmakers from the southeast spared no words in their commendation of her intellectual capacity and even beauty.
She's very intelligent, very, very charismatic, and very beautiful.
Please restrict your comments to our resume.
The legislators also screened one of their own, a former Speaker of the Kano State House of Assembly. The senators also gave the nod to the Minister of the newly created Livestock Ministry from Adamawa State, after what they describe as an impressive track record.
Give us a brief summary of your vision for the new ministry.
In the immediate, our intention is to incentivize all herders and other animal rearers to remain where there are grasses, and the ministry will intend to work with other critical stakeholders to make sure that this vision is realized.
The next nominee and immediate past special advisor in the office of the Vice President, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, is also admitted into the chamber.
What we now need to deliver is the convergence of these 2 pillars of monetary and fiscal policy with trade, investment, and industrial policies to further drive growth.
The 4-hour screening exercise concluded with the Minister of State for Education, Dr. Shuaiba Ahmed.
I commenced my NYSC at the Department of Education, Bayero University, Kano, between 2003 to 2004. I also assessed different policies at state and federal level, including gender and social inclusion, school safety.
Clearly impressed, lawmakers agree that she takes a bow. All 7 nominees are then confirmed by the Senate. Now, consequent upon the confirmation of these 7 new ministers, the lawmakers have apparently ramped up the expectations of these ministries with a determination to double down on their oversight for accelerated development across the country. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezoke, Channels Television News.
Yes, I'm Puzzi with our international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says we won't abandon you in an address to the nation after flash flooding killed at least 62 people in the country's southeast. Violently swollen rivers have been filmed sweeping cars and their passengers away downstream. Here, firefighters rescuing trapped drivers as heavy rain hit southeastern Spain. Houses have been destroyed and around 155,000 households still lack electricity in the Valencia region. Mr. Sanchez has told Spanish citizens to remain careful. Amber weather warnings are still in place in several areas of the south of the country. The European Union has also offered to help Spain as it faces the deadliest flooding in 3 decades.
People seeking refuge on trees and cars swept away by the fury of the waters. Tens of people have lost their lives. Thousands are displaced. And therefore our thoughts are with the victims and with the families and their friends, but also with the rescue teams.
Rescue workers in Argentina are scrambling to reach people trapped under debris after a hotel collapsed, with at least one person confirmed dead. The 10-story Dubrovnik hotel in the coastal city of Villa Gesell collapsed early on Tuesday, with a local describing the scene as resembling a horror movie. Up to 15 people are believed to have been inside the hotel, which had recently been undergoing renovation. Rescue teams were working at the scene, attempting to free those thought to be trapped. The body of a man in his 80s was found in the debris, while one woman has so far been rescued. The White House is attempting to play down a growing scandal triggered by President Joe Biden.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Speaking on a Zoom event with voters, he appeared to call Trump supporters garbage. Biden and the White House say he was referring specifically to a comedian who attacked Puerto Rico at a Donald Trump rally and hateful rhetoric against the island. Ukraine is planning to draft another 160,000 troops into its military as Russia gains ground in the east. Russia has been advancing in the eastern Donetsk region. It also comes amid reports that a number of North Korean troops have been deployed to Russia. Ukraine's military has been under severe pressure of late. The recruitment drive will take place over 3 months. The announcement comes as Ukraine continues to commit personnel for its incursion in the Kursk region of Russia. The UK Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, says the budget will raise taxes by £40 billion as she delivered Labour's first autumn statement in 14 years.
To stand up there, she's coming out. Get out.
Reeves, the UK's first female Chancellor, reiterated yesterday's announcement that minimum wages will rise in April, with rates for over 21s set to go up to £12.21 an hour. It has been the most hyped-up budget in modern times. National insurance contributions for employers will increase by 1.2% to 15% from April 2025, which she says will raise £25 billion a year for the government. A Chinese spacecraft with a 3-person crew, including the country's first female space engineer, has docked after a journey of more than 6 hours. It is one of 100 launches China has planned in a record year of space exploration as it tries to outdo its rival, the United States. Flames shot out of the rocket launcher as it took to the skies, lighting up the Gobi Desert with a deafening roar. The crew will use the homegrown space station as a base for 6 months to conduct experiments and carry out spacewalks as Beijing gathers experience and intelligence for its eventual mission to put someone on the moon by 2030. And the Jump Like a Pharaoh International Skydiving Festival has returned for its 7th year. According to organisers, the event brought nearly 200 skydivers from 34 countries to perform 1,000 jumps over Egypt's iconic Giza pyramids. German skydiver Markus Bartels described his first jump over the pyramids as a marvellous experience, highlighting the once-in-a-lifetime thrill of skydiving near one of the world's ancient wonders. The international festival has nearly doubled in participants each year, according to the founder of Skydive Egypt and Jump Like a Pharaoh Festival, as skydivers from across the globe are drawn to Egypt for this unique experience. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. On Sports News, Daniil Medvedev is still searching for his first ATP tournament victory this year after the world number 5 lost to Australia's Alexei Popyrin for the first time in his career at the Paris Masters. Popyrin, who has been in a rich vein of form this year, edged Medvedev 6-4, 2-6, 7-6 in a gripping second-round match. And that's sports. I'm Kelly's back to you.
And the main news again. The Senate today confirmed 7 ministerial nominees presented by President Bola Tinubu last week for accelerated consideration. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Have a good night.